Welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is our Coach's Corner feature for this week, and of course we're talking Ponca City football now. The Wildcats began the season at home before a big crowd on Friday night. This week we head for Guthrie for week 2 of the high school football season. Ponca opened with a loss to Sepulpa. We welcome in our second-year head coach Josh Allen. And Coach, I know you wanted to win that first game, but if you could, maybe let's talk about some of the real positive things that we saw. And a lot of those things were on offense, where you had a first-year starting quarterback who really showed that he can get the job done.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positives from the night. I mean, if you would think about the score, and you're thinking, what but there was, I honestly, honestly, as a coaching staff, we didn't. It wasn't a horrible, just torturous weekend or anything like that, because we, like you said, we saw a lot of bright spots. First of all, I want to start off with the crowd. I've heard stories of what the crowd does look like, in years past, especially when we were winning consecutively, and that it was just overflow crowds and stuff. And I'm sure they were bigger than the other night. But I'm telling you what, it was I was very impressed with the crowd. First of all, I just want to say that was a positive, and thank you Ponca City for coming out and supporting us. And but yes, positives on the football field. I know the score didn't indicate a lot of. That wasn't a positive thing as far as the scoreboard, but there was a lot of positives within the game. And one of the positives, is you're right, is our quarterback play. Michael's had a great summer and a great camp, but there was still, like any coach had with a first-year quarterback or a first varsity game quarterback play, how's he going to do? And here's the facts. He was 21 for 37. And over 200 yards, 1 touchdown, and an interception that wasn't all his fault, as far as there was a missed signal and a missed route in there. So did Michael Mongold exceed expectations of how he handled himself and how he handled the crowd the first game, the pressure, being able to complete some footballs, and didn't really get a lot of help in our run game? Absolutely. I thought Michael Mongold did a great job.
Coach, the other positives on offense I thought were some of the young guys you put out there to catch the football, and we made some great catches on tough balls to catch. Michael hit over 50% of his passes, but you kind of find out who can do this on Fridays. Sometimes guys Monday through Thursday may not show you that much, but if they do on Fridays, they're going to get some playing time.
Breaking down the stats, Phil, we had like 6 or 7 guys catch footballs. It was a very balanced. I mean, we number our receivers are different letters. I can tell you every letter on our wide receiving core didn't just catch one ball, caught multiple balls. So that means the ball was being dispersed throughout everybody on the offense, and so from running backs to all 4 receivers caught multiple balls. So that shows you something. You're right. We got multiple guys that are catching the football on the field. And don't get me wrong, we did have some drops, but again, those a lot of those guys, it was their first varsity game, and their nerves had a little bit to do with that. So some of those drops will even improve because they'll calm down as games come on. Experience takes over a little bit.
Absolutely. The other side of the football, we knew that Sepulpa would be good, and they were mid-season form. I mean, they were light pole level. Their quarterback Sam threw the ball well. Johnson, his big wide receiver, caught the ball well, and so
right.
We had some guys that were really trying to figure it out against a very, very good opponent. I guess I'm trying to say Sepulpa really played well, and that didn't help our cause any.
No, and I'm going to bring some positives out to the defense. Absolutely, you're right. We got torched on the deep pass, and we've struggled in our scrimmages with the, and I mean the deep pass. It's the 25, 30 yard and over football that's thrown. But honestly, outside of the 4 or 5 deep balls, outside of a quarterback sneak, and outside of a what they call a hook and lateral play, which would be in the trick play category. That's where you'd put that. Outside of that, we're talking off-tackle run game, intermediate throws and catches. We were right there. I mean, we were playing defense. So you take out the real long deep pass, and you saw it in college games. This quarterback, you spread it. He made a big long run that should have been. So it was our fault. And then a hook and lateral. You take away those plays, and it's a normal fought football game. So my point is, we play defense a lot of other downs very well. And so we're building off of that, and then we will obviously try to improve big time in those other areas. And if we can do that, we'll be okay. And you're right, Phil. A lot of it is. I mean, Sam is a senior quarterback. He'll be one of the top quarterbacks we play all year long. And a couple of those guys for Sapulpa, they're seniors, and they are, they probably are, because of their seniors, probably are a little bit better. Obviously more experienced, and in some aspects maybe a little bigger and stronger and faster than some of our guys here.
This week, Wildcats, Coach Allen, his staff will be on the road to Guthrie, traditionally one of the best teams in Class 5A, and they opened up their season with a big win over Duncan. Now, they did lose a four-year starting quarterback, but I'm sure you've already seen enough to let you know that they've probably got another piece to plug in right there.
I don't know what it is with the state of Oklahoma right now with quarterback play, but we've got to be moving up there in the state. We've got to be one of the top, I'd probably top 6 or 7 states. I know Jason White and Sam Bradford and a bunch of the other ones here recently have been big names. But I'm telling you what, in our district and with Sam last week, and Guthrie. My point is, Guthrie is putting another really good-looking type of kid out there. I mean, he's every bit of 6'3", 6'4". Got a great frame on him, can run, can throw. But you're right, Phil. He's not going to be. This is his only second varsity start. Where Sam last year was a multiple-year starter. Guthrie's quarterback last year literally was a 4-year starter. This guy doesn't have the experience there. So he's a good-looking physical athlete and quarterback, but I think experience will be able to help us out. He won't be quite as sharp as that guy was a year ago.
What do you want to get out of this ball game this Friday, Coach? It's another non-district game. It's early in the season, so I hope the players take it as early in the season and know that their most important football is coming up. Everybody wants to win, but I think also everybody knows that, boy, you really want to see, first and foremost, improvement in all phases of the game.
Absolutely, Phil. Now listen, we're always going to go try to win a game. I'll tell you that right now. We game plan to win as coaches, and we build in these kids' minds we're going to go win. That's how we got our wins last year, week 7 and 8. And you know what? To me, to say if we execute our game plan, we have a chance to beat the Guthrie Blue Jays. They're not invincible by any means, and our guys are capable of winning this ball game. But yes, do we need to make improvement in areas? Well, Phil, you're exactly right. At the deep ball pass, at some point in the season, we're going to have to eliminate that. At some point in the season, we're going to have to eliminate that, and we've shown that we've struggled in our scrimmages and in our first game. That needs to be a serious priority, and we will get that fixed. We're not, teams aren't just going to be chunking long balls on us all year long. We will fix that, I promise you. So that is one area that we're going to improve. Guthrie is a physical ball club. So I'm really, they're one of the more physical ball clubs in the fact that they like to run the ball, and I want to see how our guys respond to some kind of old-style football a little bit, and we need to man up in some areas and match that physicalness that Guthrie's going to have. Offensively, we keep building. I mean, Mike had a good game last week. Our pass protection was great. Receivers did a good job. So let's build on the pass game. It is going to be a task to run the ball on Guthrie's defense, and the fact that we still got some young linemen, as you know, and Guthrie might, they do have a little bit of a physical edge, as far as strength and size against us in the interiors. But do we need to try to run the ball and get a little better than week 1? Absolutely. So we already trying to become a more complete team. We did have some. We were pretty clean on our signals and our no huddle. We had and it looked bad up. I apologize to the fans. We had a little sideline miscue coming out from half, and that was totally not the players' faults. That was the coach's fault there right at the beginning of the third quarter. That was we don't do that in practice. We know our signals, and we didn't have a problem with it except one play last night, and that was the interception. And that was one player that got a signal wrong, and that was the only missed signal we had. And then the other thing coming out from halftime was a coach's. We had a dummy guy and a signal and a live signal guy, and that got confused. Some players were looking at the dummy guy, some players were looking at the live signal guy, and that's literally what happened there with the penalties. So those are all correctable things, and we will get better at those things. We'll become a better and more clean football team next week.
You ever watch a college game? You don't think football players have to be smart from the number 1 guy to the 60th guy on the roster? They hold up cards. They hold up pictures. I don't know whether they did that when you played college ball, but they hold up so many different things, and there's so many different people moving around, and they're all in the same colored shirt. It's probably a miracle more that doesn't happen.
Yeah, yes, and like I said to the fan public, if you came and watched, honestly, the first half we hardly had any penalty flags. We looked good, and coming out in the third quarter, those first 2 series. It broke. I mean, I was very disappointed in that, and I found out quickly into the third quarter, only a couple series, what the problem was. We fixed it. That problem never happened. Now, our other problem was Michael, our quarterback, wasn't loud a couple of times, and we had a couple of missed timing with the snap and things, and a couple of receivers weren't on the line of scrimmage and were off, and those were mostly all in the second half. And I don't know why we played so clean first half, and in the second half we had some penalties. So. I'm telling you what, we really practice well that and stuff. I think we'll clean that up. I don't think we're going to be a real big penalty-laden team this year. Our guys are really pretty sharp, and we'll get that figured out real quick.
Scored a late touchdown, Coach, which, again, for young kids, that we actually had some good plays that were called back for them to get the goose egg off the board and at least have that to kind of look at to say this is what happens when everybody does their job. I thought it was a pretty big score for us, even though it came late.
Oh, yes. I mean, honestly, when things weren't going our way, you could tell. I'm talking like, you probably get a late second quarter, or obviously beginning of third quarter, you're looking at it and going, okay, it's not our, the scoreboard's probably not going to be in our favor by the end of this thing. So, one thing, I don't want to be shut out when we need to score, and, I want to see a lot of good plays out there. And you know what? In Czech, I saw a lot of good defensive and offensive plays, throughout all parts of the game. And I'm telling you, our coaching staff, we like these guys. We're going to get better through this 2013 season. The public doesn't know we did. We honestly had 17 new starters out there. That is a fact. All 11 on offense. So. There is going to be there still is some growing pains, but I'm telling you what, the attitude and the character of this team really is good. You're right. I want us to stay plugged in throughout the year because you're going to see a different Wildcat. You're going to see us progress through as the season goes on, and hopefully that means some wins. And but as I was telling you, the tide will be on the other. The tide will change as far as we will eventually be a team that is the more experienced team than a lot of our opponents, and we're with guys with multiple games under their belt.
One more thing, as a player or coach, have you ever played or coached at the Rock in Guthrie?
Oh, now I've been there, but I've not been in an athletic contest there as far as a coach or a player, I think I've seen a little bit of a game there as a fan one time. But a very historic stadium.
It's different.
It's going to be awesome in it. Yeah,
yes. It's a little different. Absolutely. The players can't run very far at the end of the end zone, and if you go too far at the other end, you get on the baseball field. So it's a little different, but it's like everything else. They're going to use it to their advantage.
Sure. So. This is going to be a hot. Phil, would you say this would be one of the more hostile places we play this year?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're fan the mentality. They And not only hot fans, but hot. I tell you, Coach, the other night, for everybody that just went out there and stood on that field, because that was probably the second hottest season opener I can ever remember. So anyway, but we'll have to have a lot of fans down there. Our fans are great, and I know they'll be down there.
I thank the Ponca City fans for coming out. appreciate, even though the scoreboard wasn't on our side, we're getting better, and eventually it will be on our side at some point. So anyway, but thanks for coming out. The fans were great. I mean, I looked up in the crowd, and it just, again, another reason why I'm so glad to be here in Ponca City.
Josh Out, our football coach. Wildcats at 7 o'clock this week against the Guthrie Blue Jays in Guthrie. For Coach Phil Turney, have yourself a great week.